Welcome to the Culture of You, meaningful dialogue with me and my favorite people. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Culture of You. I'm your host, Karen Hewitt. It's been a minute. I took June off, but I'm coming back with the heat. And I got Doctor E, Dr. Elaine Richardson over at OSU. You would know her over there by that. In the streets, we like to call her mother, auntie, soul singing sister. And she is a community builder, an educator, a gift really to us in resilience and love and bouncing back and showing us what you can do when you put your mind to it. She's an author, a singer, a writer, and I couldn't be more ecstatic to have someone on this show with me talking about this that I call mother in real life. And I'm just so happy to have you here. Dr. E, give it up one time for yourself.
I'm giving it up because I'm just grateful to be here, and I love you so much, and I look up to you so much. So it means so much for me for you to have me on.
Yeah. I wanted you on. I've been wanting you on. I've been asking you. I've been bugging you.
I love you so much. Thank you.
Yes. And I should also have added, curator of the Women&Girls'Fest. You just completed the HipHop Literacies. Oh my goodness, how cool was that? We had Saucy Santana here. We had a time.
We had a time. And you know what? It worked out like it was supposed to work out, because I wanted you to be front and center the whole time. And you had so much going on, if you remember at first, right?
Yeah.
And then something broke open for you and something had fell under for me. So I was like, let me go back to Kelly and see what's happening. And it just worked out like it was supposed to work out. Mm-hmm. Who was supposed to be there was there. And who couldn't make it, they'll be on the next one or whatever. But it was all love. It was all, man, I just felt so uplifted. Yeah. I felt so uplifted from the HipHop Literacies Conference. Black, Queer, and Trans Lives Matter. That to me, it meant the world to me. Like, just to be involved with that conference and to meet some of those young queer scholars, queer Black scholars I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So I met them either through Treva or through Gwen or you. I met the artists through you. Mm-hmm. Most of the artists, I knew a few of the artists, but I didn't know a lot of the artists. So it just helped me to build my community more, a network with people and to grow, to grow. So we got a lot of good feedback, Awesome. So, yeah.
I love that. Be looking out for the next iteration of that, y'all, because the next one coming hard and heavy too. I know it's going to be even better.
Yes. Every round is higher and higher.
Inspired higher. Yes. So my first question to everybody that comes on here is, and I think you may have answered it, but why did you say yes? I know it took a minute to get you to say yes, but why did you say yes to joining me and coming on this podcast?
How could I not? I look up to you so much. You're brilliant. I learn from you. I love you. I see how you move in the community. I was happy when I saw that you had this podcast, because I knew I was going to be on it one day. I was I'm going to be on it one day. The culture, and I just been watching you for years, ever since I don't even know how long we've been knowing each other, but however long we've been knowing each other, I see how you move. You're multidimensional. You are a teacher, you're a leader, and I just look up to you and Aaron. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Shout out to the wife, Big E. All right. My Big E. You know what I'm saying?
Family.
So if you had to describe yourself for people that don't know you, professionally and personally, and it may be the same answer for both, as what kind of culture you create or what kind of culture you bring. You're creating festivals, you're creating shows, you're curating a lot of things, and also you're educating, right? So, and mentoring. So how would you describe your culture or your vibe, personally or professionally?
My vibe is love. I try to be about love. I try, I know I'm not perfect, but I try to love people. I think it's very important to lead with love, because my feelings get hurt real easy. And I try to not, I don't want to hurt nobody, but I'm hurt all the time just by stuff that be going on in our society.
Yeah.
It bothers me. I think that's the artist part of me. Um, I'm deeply affected by stuff that happens around me. Um, I just remember being real young and wanting everybody to love each other. I always been on that vibe. My parents had a problematic marriage, and just seeing that, I just always wanted to bring people together. Even when I was in the street life, I wanted everybody to be high. Unfortunately, that's not something I'm proud of.
I mean, that made you, you learned some things.
You see what I'm saying? It's like I wanted everybody to have money. I wanted everybody to be high. I wanted everybody to be happy. I didn't want people to be fighting, so that's just who I am as an artist and as a person. And I know, it's got some, I don't know what to call it, fantasy with it, maybe. But I'm trying to help build the world that I want to see in my own way. Just contribute. Maybe contribute is the right word. And that's personally and professionally. So, that's why like you said, that's why I do the programming that I do, the Columbus Women&Girls'Fest, the HipHop Literacies Conference, the mentoring for the arts for young people that we do. All of that. I just want to be involved in showing people love and helping to create the beloved community the best way I know how.
Good old reference to the late great Dr. MLK Jr. That was the beloved community, and I think it's about that vision that's possible. And so you see it, you said it, from the streets, to the college courses, to the conferences, to the festivals, to the stage. Even when you're singing, you got some songs, you got some hits. We're gonna come back to them in a second. But even in your book,
I got some hits. Come on.
That's really where I first, met you, and then I was like, oh wow, she's so dynamic.
God.
You
and
so
you
much
are
more
too.
than that.
You are too.
Well, I guess game recognized game. You know what I mean?
Real recognize real. Come on.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, your book. I love that, your vibe is love. The culture that you're curating is love, wherever you are. And that can be said for your entire life. And so you wrote a book about your life. So talk to us a little bit about your book and tell people where they can get it too when you talk about it.
So the book that I think you're talking about is Ho on Dope to PhD, How Education Saved My Life.
Yeah.
And that book came out in 2013.
Really?
To me personally, that's the best book I ever wrote. That is the best book that I have written, to me. I've written other, like scholarly books that were more, bringing in my applied linguistics and my African American studies and my English background. And I do that in this book as well, but I don't do it the way that I did it in those scholarly books, because I talk about language and culture more broadly by just showing it, So, that book basically talks about a little bit about what I just said. It took me a long time to realize that my vulnerability, being vulnerable to pimps, being vulnerable to, people who didn't have my best interests at heart. But at the same time, I understand now. I can look back on it and understand that they were just being who they were, and that they did love me. Not all of them, but some of the dudes that I was with, they did love me the best way they knew how.
Yeah.
Right. And they were, they were caught up in what they were caught up in because of their situation. And sometimes people aren't good for each other. They like, you might love somebody and want to help somebody, but you got to love you first and know what's good for you and what's not good for you. And I was young, I didn't have what they say, 2020 is hindsight, or some word like that.
Hindsight is 2020,
20,
maybe.
thank you. Right.
Yeah.
So now at the age of 63, I can look back on my life and I could see, like all the social traps that I fell in, wanting to people please. And people might look at me now and say, I'm a people pleaser, but I'm really not. Not now, I'm not. I'm doing what I want to do first and foremost. I might be involved with some people who don't like some other people, but I don't let that stop me from loving the people that love me. I ain't got nothing, and who I love. Sometimes I'm involved with people who don't get along with somebody else that I get along with. But I'm not people pleasing. Like I'm gonna stop loving you because they don't like you. Something like that. I don't do that type of people pleasing. I think I try to please myself first, what I really believe in, what I'm really standing on, and I go with that, with my gut. But it took me a long time to get there. It took me through, being in the street life and almost getting killed a million. I don't know how many times I almost got killed. But my story basically is like coming from being a heartbroken kid and feeling like my parents didn't love each other. And of course, I can look back on all that and say my parents loved me unconditionally, and I broke their hearts 1,000 times or more. But and I know my dad really loved me too. But my mother was like hardcore. That's my daughter. I don't care what she did. Open that door, because my dad used to be like embarrassed, because I was hooking. I was in the 7th grade turning tricks with a pimp, all that kind of stuff. And then after that, like I had gotten out for a while out of the street life and went back, as a young adult, like 18 years old. Back out there from like 18 to like 20, was it 22, 23, something like that. I was back out there. And my dad and my brother, they didn't know what to do with that. It's like, when I would come home, beat up, tired, drugged out, looking bad, I would knock on the door. So I remember one particular time, my father came to the door. No, I think my brother came to the door first. He looked through the curtain and saw it was me and didn't open it. Then my father came to the door, looked through the curtain, didn't open it. My mother came to that door and opened that door and let my daughter in here. That's my daughter, and my mother was just always there for me. My mother was just always trying to make me like, remember who you are. That wasn't her way of saying it, but she would just be like, what's wrong with you? She'd be trying to shake me back to, the beautiful kid that, had all this ambition and had so much talent and was gifted and wanted to be so many things. And now how you get to be a drugged out po-ho on dope, where's my kid? Where are you in there, So my mother went through a whole lot with me. And I think her love really saved my life.
Yeah.
Because my mother always wanted to get an education. My mother was a Jamaican immigrant. And, like that's what she never got to go past the 6th grade. And when she got to America, like that was all she was always talking about. If me would I get education, me would have been hell. She was always, wanting us to get the best that we could from America. And I knew that, I knew that. And I think that is one of the things, I know that's one of the things that saved my life, because she never, ever turned her back on me. She never told me I couldn't come home. And there was a lot of people I knew that couldn't go home, and so they stayed in the life, they couldn't go back home. One thing that I learned over the years, like I used to think I knew so much because I used to be in the street life.
Yeah.
But one thing that I learned like way late after that was like the trans women that I worked with out there, they couldn't go back home. They couldn't go back home. A lot of people couldn't go back home. And I didn't really understand that for a long time,
Right.
that everybody didn't have a situation that I had, trans or, whatever, other kind of women were out there. Some people just could not go back home. And so when they got into life, they was in there.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot of support from like people in their home, their family and stuff like that. So, but that was something that I learned years after, after I got out of the life. I realized like some people that I went to school with, and everything, they couldn't go back home. But but anyway.
That's such a nuanced conversation too around, and I love that door was always open. Like at the end of the day, you always knew that door was going to be open. There's so much stigma around sex work now, and but there's so many statistics, especially around trans women, around being able to access work, like legitimate work, and sex work is work. And so like, what does it look like for people that are in choice there, but then also people to have an opportunity where that doesn't have to be their only choice, right? And so that's such a nuanced conversation now, and I love that you got into it because I think there's a lot to be discussed around. If that's what you want to do and what you want to be doing, then do your thing and take care of yourself, right? But around the safety, and then around the access to care and to be able to care for yourself, like there's some gaps in there, and people are like, I mean, a lot of Black trans women will find themselves in sex work and then consequently be harmed or even killed in that line of work. And it's devastating. Like it's devastating to see that.
Very devastating. And one thing that really used to bother me when I was in that life, when we would go to jail, the police would treat you like trash the majority of the times when I was in jail. There's always exceptions of people who cared and tried to talk to you and tried to figure out why you were in there, why were you in this life or whatever. But I've been in jail where I've heard people getting beaten in the next cell, by the police beating people. Oh yeah, I've been in jail a lot of times and that happened. And just, people getting abused, trans women and non-trans women, because sometimes it depends on, they don't like how you answer them. You ask you answer a question a certain way, you get knocked upside the head with a big one of them big flashlights or something. So that always bothered me, like when I was in the street life, the police abuse of street workers, a lot of that went on. And it, of course, it still goes on. But it's a lot of things that I lived through that, I didn't really understand it when I was living through it. And after I got out, I was able to think back, like so many people I know got killed and, or got, messed up so bad that they don't even,
Yeah. How do you translate those lessons into like how you deal with conflict, how obviously you're resilient. I mean, you got a doctorate, you're educating, at one of the best nations in the land. Let's just be clear about that. Go Bucks. And like, how did that translate? Like, what are those lessons and how does that translate into the way you deal with people now?
I realized that I was very ignorant to a lot of things, even though I was living through a lot of things. I was ignorant to a lot of things because you ain't living in somebody else's skin. You know what I mean? And nobody's living in your skin. And so I just always try to forgive myself, and I try to forgive other people, because I've had a lot of people come to me wrong and treat me wrong, and feel like they can, get anything off because they know where you came from, or who they think you are, all those kind of things. So I just try to not put myself in certain situations, and just try to love people and keep it moving. I mean, even with students, like I tell,
they'll try you. they 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 be the main ones.
Oh my God. I always said I'm gonna write a book, and I'm the title of the book, why did I say, what was the name of it? Why You Gonna Try to Play Me? And this how I'm gonna be looking on the cover. This how I'm gonna be looking on the cover. People do, because people, like some people, like when you said at the beginning, when you introduced me, you said I was a gift. But you know how to take that gift. Some people don't.
Taking advantage. Just take. Ooh. Like, this syllabus is clear. I sent emails. I'm responsive. Please don't play me the day before something to do all the time.
He said all the time.
Not all the time. Not just you. Not you. It's always one.
Oh my God. So yeah, I let people know, what I can and cannot do. It's some things. It's a line. I have a line. I have a
boundaries line.
I have a line. Yeah, you can't go across that line, else because I can love you from a distance. That's how I can love a lot of people from a distance.
I had to learn that.
You. Yeah, still love you, but
over there.
For real. And that's been like from the streets to now, till still, I don't wish death, I don't wish wrong on nobody, you know what I'm saying? But I know how to keep it moving, and still love you and keep it moving. And
how do you reconcile that? Because I mean, we're both in the big time in the social justice movement, racial justice movement, in our work, right? It's embedded in our work, right?
Yeah.
It's embedded in our work. How do you deal with, I think it was Snoop that was talking about how everybody can't come with you, but like, how do you reconcile with that loving heart and wanting everybody to experience, the notion of thriving? How do you reconcile with that when you're alone or going to bed, or like, figuring out your vision for the world and how you're going to live it out? How do you reconcile the grief that comes with like the people that can't come with you?
Wow. I try to think of, like everybody's got to find their own way, and I think that some people will find their way, and, we might not be able to work together, but maybe, there's somebody else that can work with you, or that you can work with, and you work through that circle, because, everyone's contribution is needed, so maybe together we're not able to make that contribution because you, at the time, you moving in a way that I can't move,
right.
But through your other experiences, maybe you able to, figure out a way to move that is really in line with your higher power and with your belief system, and it aligns with mine. I might not even know it because I ain't seen you in 5 or 10 years or whatever, but you doing a good thing. So, that's what I'm hoping for people,
right?
Hoping that they not backstabbing and playing games and, stuff that we do sometimes when we get entangled. Sometimes you can get
so exhausting. I mean, I'm so glad social media didn't exist like it did when I was in my 20s, but my goodness, it's exhausting to be running around here not telling the truth and playing games. Ghetto games is what I used to call them. Out here playing games, it's exhausting.
It's very exhausting. It's very exhausting. And you know what? I just do my work. I just try to do my work and learn. If I mess up, I have people like you in my life who will tell me the truth. You messed up, but I still love you. And this is how to do this the next time. You know what I mean? Like, I do have people that I trust that can help me, because everybody mess up sometime. But if you're committed, are you committed to messing up, or are you committed to?
That's a word. And people don't even know. That'd be unconscious commitments, just unconsciously committed to just messing up stuff, themselves and others, just messing up everything. Stop it.
Yes.
All right. So what would I be surprised? I know a lot about you, but what would I be surprised to know about you?
Okay, this is good. It sounds funny, but it's real.
Okay.
I want a Tina Turner white man.
Yes.
Is that something that surprises you?
That does surprise me. I don't know if I had an image of who I wanted you to have or who I thought you would want to have, like long-term companionship. But I want that for you. If that's what you want, I want that for you. Who else has?
And I might not even really want him. Maybe that's the stereotype that I have in my mind of who that is. But I know he gave her his kidney. And I know he let her do her. And he helped her do everything she was trying to do. You feel me?
Yeah. So, that's been a big conversation because there's so many situations where a lot of Black women have tried over and over again to be with Black men. And this is not, obviously, there are so many, especially in the Columbus community, there are so many good Black men. I'm going to just say that right now.
That's true.
But what I will say is there have been so many instances nationally, I know that this is a narrative, is that like there's a lot of Black men that don't even like Black women. And then it's like, well, I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, I want that companionship. I want a partner, and I want somebody who's going to love me and care for me and be there for me. And if it's not going to be you, then why are you worried about where I'm going or who I'm talking to or who I'm going to love? Why are you worried about it? So I say, find them. I know you don't be on these sites.
I don't. I'm not even looking. I ain't looking.
Maybe at the conference, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you'll be at some educational conference or something that you ain't running or curating. That's what
somebody always, I got a friend that always say, all the places that you go, E, you don't meet nobody.
You got to go out. You ain't going out.
I work too much, huh? But I don't really try to meet anybody. Maybe if I was trying, I would, meet somebody. But I'm not really trying.
Okay. Well,
I guess that person would have to I would have to stumble up on that person.
They'll be on this podcast like, wait a minute.
If you hear this podcast.
There it is. And you like what you see. Find me over at OSU, okay?
That is so funny.
Oh my goodness. What are you working on now? What you working on?
You gonna fuss at me.
But you got a project in the works. I don't care about the goals or the objectives. Tell us what you're working on now.
Well, it's the same book that I've been telling you about for years.
I know about it. They don't know about it.
I'm committed to finishing this book this summer.
Okay.
I gotta finish it this summer. I'm almost there. So this is it's called Reading the World with Black Girls. And it's about the community work that I do with Black girls. I had a after school club some years ago on the East Side. And it's about what I learned from working with those girls. What I learned about myself.
Yeah.
The white supremacy in me, the patriarchy in me.
That is some
Uh,
dismantling for yourself now.
yeah, yeah. You gotta face that. You gotta face it if you want to, you gotta you will come face to face with yourself when you start looking back at them old tapes.
Ooh, ooh,
Those old tapes. But the beauty of all that was that they
mm.
still loved me.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like they might, I know some of those little girls know that I made some mistakes.
mhm.
I made some mistakes. But they still love me because they knew I loved them.
Ugh,
And
I just wish that intergenerationally that conversation was able to happen and people in your generation, my beloved, aunties and mothers and all that, I wish they could take that. I made mistakes. Like it's okay to apologize. It's okay to correct. It's okay to do that work and dismantle those things inside of you that still exist and be in right relationship with those girls. Like it's so cool to me.
yeah, I love young people. That's like my passion. I really love working with young people. I used to always say I want to teach adults because
Mm-hmm.
my heart is so soft that I know I can't let go. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
for me to let go of people because they
Mm-hmm.
gotta go. They gotta go. They gotta grow. But it's the same. I learned over time. It's all the same because everybody you gotta let them go. You know, your own children, your own. Every day when you and your wife go a different way, it's in a way you're letting them go because
Mm-hmm.
they got to go where they got to go in the world. You ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna be with them all the time,
Right.
24 hours a day. So it took me a long time to get to that point where, okay, you know what? I do love working with young people. I love working with young people. They make me feel so hopeful. I
Yeah.
feel so hopeful. And I just want to help, like so that they won't, if I can do anything to shield them from or just be that example for them of
Mm-hmm.
all these wrong choices that I made because I didn't know who I really could be or
Mm-hmm.
who I was or how
Mm-hmm.
valuable I was, and that you can, it's okay to shine. It's okay to shine. Everybody ain't got to see your beauty right off. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, they'll see it at some point. They'll see it if you keep going for what what your purpose is, they'll see your beauty. You don't have to, acquiesce. You don't have to shrink. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to let people mislead you to what they think you should be and do.
Yeah.
And I want to be here to be a part of your dream, your team. When you look back, I want you to be able to say, Doctor E always told me such and such and such. You know what I mean? That means a
Mm-hmm.
lot to me working with young people and just sowing into them whatever I can of value. And I learned so much from them because they smart.
They're so smart
These young people
and
are,
they're quick.
yeah. I just got a lot of times, like hone them into the academics,
Yes.
Because if you can do all this over here, you can do all this over here too. We just got to figure out how to bring it together. Figure out
Yes. It's the
but
strategy piece. And I think I was doing this conversation about, and it was about diversity, but it wound up becoming about generational stuff. And it was a Gen Z person there, and they were like, well, it's Alpha, probably the people you dealing with, but the Gen Z person was like, what do you think is the one thing that we could do as a generation that could support, collaboration? And I was like, honestly, no one's ever asked me that. And I think there is, they're big on, respect and all of that. And I appreciate that. And I think there should be accountability in our relationships, regardless of age, right? But there's this lived experience and wisdom that I obviously know that lives within you. And this whole entire Gen X, boomers, they call it the silent generation. I don't know what that means, but I don't know anybody that was silent that's from those years. But anyway, but like, those older generations, we'll call them seasoned generations, there's so much lived experience there. And I was just like, I think listening and and understanding and wanting, like I want to listen to those stories. Some of the reason why I started this podcast is because I know I do a lot of stuff in the community, but I really wanted to hear from others and hear their stories. And like, there's so much wisdom to be gained in that. And I'm not a touch the stove person. Like, I don't have to touch the stove to know it's hot. I know some people do. Some people do, but I do not. And so I'm gonna listen and be like, okay, like there's a lesson in there for me. And I think there's some strategy and some lessons that we could all learn from each other if we would just listen a little bit more and there was a little more willingness from Gen Z and Alpha to hear us and not just think of us as like old heads that don't know what we're doing. Like we've been through some stuff. We done some living too.
Right. And that's, that's another reason why I like working with younger generations, because it does keep you, informed. It keeps you knowing what's happening through them.
Oh yeah.
That I don't have a problem with learning from younger people, from my students or from you or from anybody, but some people, I think.
And if they trust you, they'll tell you everything.
They will.
Be like, you didn't have to tell me that. Hold up. You didn't have to tell me that.
Oh Lord, that's right. Yeah. But
so you got anything on the artistic horizon? I know you be singing out here. I saw you singing some Summerfest. Didn't you sing somewhere recently?
I sang at the Lancaster first Juneteenth.
Okay, Lancaster.
And they had some history. They had some good history that they talked about this brother who his master freed him and helped him start his own business, and like how this man was a big business person in Lancaster. One of the first black business people, and he put a lot of people on. So they were talking about this guy. Wait a minute, I
used to coach at Athens and Ohio University. Did you know that? I'm telling you. There? I used to coach there for 2 years, and the only thing I used to drive by in Lancaster was fast food restaurants, exits for Hocking Hills, and this one, I don't even know what to call it, like the hunting workshop, like the hunting store. You know the store that I'm talking about. You know exactly.
I've only been there. That was my first time going.
Oh, it's on the like little main thoroughfare too. It's like a gas station. There's like this big, like there's like deer outside. It's like made of all wood. It's gigantic. It's like a hunting outlet. It's like a hunter's dream, I'm sure.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. But this brother, his name was Scipio Smith, and he was emancipated in 1821 and he was a black businessman.
Wow.
And he helped a lot of black people. So they talked about him a lot at that Lancaster Juneteenth.
Fantastic. You never know. A lot of those stories, if you have a lot of black business people back then, they were harmed as soon as they got too successful.
I know. Yeah, so they're trying to like build a statue to him, I think, in downtown Lancaster.
Fantastic.
That's what they were talking about. But yeah, it was a good experience performing.
What'd you sing?
For performing there for the Juneteenth, and speaking a little bit about myself. But I haven't really been trying to book a lot of gigs because I want to finish my book.
Okay.
That's mandatory. Like before September hit, then I'm gonna have like a full. Like I have a draft now. I have a full draft now, but there's a lot of massaging that needs to happen between now and September, and maybe even beyond September. But I want to feel good with the draft that I have by the time September hits. So,
all right. So we'll hold on the artistic projects, the performances.
I do have a couple, though. I have one thing coming up in Cleveland, just a lunchtime concert thing. And that's in September. And I'm also going to perform at an arts conference in September. So I have two things that I'm doing. One is a one-woman show, Underlying Conditions. I think I told you about it before. It's a chapter actually in the book too.
Okay.
But it's based on the lives of three Black women and one Black girl, and they all were killed during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the play is about the underlying conditions that allow for, like you already talked about some of it, for the disproportionality of Black trans women being killed, and Black women and Black girls being killed. I mean, through COVID or whatever pandemic conditions in our community that heighten our risk for danger, harm and danger. That's what
you're acting in it. What are you doing? What's your role?
I'm playing. I'm doing like I'm doing.
Come on, dynamic.
I'm doing.
You're like, I'm not doing that much. I'm taking some time. I got to finish this book, and then you're like, I'm in a one-act play.
Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on the one. I have, like I know what I'm going to do. Like I have poetry. I have some. You've heard two of the songs already. You heard "Legalize Me."
That's my jam.
Embrace my gender and my sexuality. That's one of the songs.
That's that jam.
That's one of the songs. You heard "Pandemic," I think too. That's one of the songs. Yeah. So I have like it's music, poetry, and monologues and acting.
Cool. I love it.
So, yeah. I love doing one woman shows because when I did PhD to PhD and I created my friend Mary Weems, we always give her love. I always got to say her name.
Yes.
Because she's still living too. So say her name.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she helped me because she was actually the editor of PhD to PhD. Like when I finished the manuscript, she read it for me. She was like, "Hey, how you fucked this up from the first time that I read it? You went back and called yourself tightening this up and you fucked it up." I loved her because that's how she did. She was like, "No, it came out like it was supposed to come out. You put an academic mumble. No, this is, but
nope.
She's a great
like, nah.
She's like, yep. She was throwing shit away. She was like, this is
garbage.
To do this shit, She's a great editor. But she helped me with to build a one woman play based on that book. And she did like the whole first draft of it. Or even, like she wrote what she thought it should be. And then when I began to act it, I put my own stank on it. Yeah, you gotta put your own.
Put some steak on it, Tina.
I put my own.
Bless
steak.
her soul.
Yeah, I put my own steak.
I hope she is resting right now, Tina. But yeah.
I know. Yep. So I put my own thing on there, and that book took me all around the country and out of the country. I mean, that book, because I published it with an unknown independent guy in my field, because I couldn't get nobody else to take it. I could not get out of the, I had these relationships with academic publishers, and none of them could do anything with it because it wasn't
like, I never seen that. Can't.
They never heard of Poho on.
Can't do that.
Right? We don't know what to do
it's
with
it. It's a little abstract for me, a little too revolutionary. Good luck with your endeavors, but it's a little too radical for me.
That's it. And then I went around to the trade presses. I pitched it to a lot of trade presses, and they were like, now if you were Whitney Houston, this would be a go. This would be a go. But I mean, it's hard for us to publish somebody who hasn't already had like a major presence in pop culture, and if you were somebody with a big name, we could do it. So they passed on it. Somebody else was telling me though, they said, if you had been writing that book at around the time when the racial justice movement was a little bit more, after they killed George Floyd, they said, I bet you that book, they would have picked that book up back then. But that's okay.
That's probably true.
Things need to happen when things happen when they should happen. And so it's the way that I'm writing reading the world with Black girls is that I'm still weaving my story in throughout that work
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So, it happened when it's supposed to happen and like it's supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
And like I said, the one woman show is one of the chapters too.
Great.
So
That'll be a good precursor to it.
you see,
I see you.
yeah, you see.
All right. So look, the
That's about
last
it.
question, I'm gonna give you the proverbial mic, and you get to either present me with a burning question of some sort or a scenario that you would like to talk through and see what I would do. We could talk about, it could be real or, partially created. And we'll talk through what I would do at right now, this version of Karen. And then we'll talk through it if you want to talk about what you did or what you would do differently, some scenario, and it can be personal or professional that you just want to talk through and see what I would have done. Or you can just ask me a burning question and you can be the interviewer for a moment.
So ask you about or create a scenario and ask you what you would do.
We call this the situational hot seat. So you put me in the hot seat.
Wow. What would you do?
Mm-hmm.
What would you do if your son was at home, lying all alone on the bedroom floor,
because he's hungry?
And they're hungry to feed him. Let me see. What would you do? Would you be the Vice President of the United States?
Right now?
Right now.
With the current president?
With the current president.
Absolutely not. I'll tell you
Let
why.
me put it like this. Suppose you had to be.
Oh, well, I mean, if I had to, I would step up, I would do what I had to do. I know what I do know, which is what keeps me out of politics. I'm politically adjacent in a lot of the work that I do. And this is what keeps me out of politics, is knowing that once you get to a certain level, you really lose touch and people lose access to you.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
as much as I can understand how challenging it is to try and govern millions of people and to try and put in systems and processes in a broken system already, right? Not necessarily a broken system. A system is doing what it's designed to do, but like to really, I can only imagine the tension trying to be for the people politically at this climate right now. And then the disparity with which happens when you can't do what you want to do for the people that need it the most. Or like, and what I see even locally is like, there's so many things that need to be addressed because there's so many chasms, throughout the city or the state.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much to be done because there's so much damage. There's been so much oppression. There's been so much negligence. There's been so much, oppression and negligence is where I'll leave it. And people are doing some really wonderful things. I know about them, I hear about them, and there's still a lot of crime, and there's still a lot of violence, and there's still a lot of pain, and people that don't have the means to survive, and there's the whole human, after working in the human service sector for as long as I did, it's devastating. I mean, I will continue to always give love. I went from I did some management and stuff like that in corporate, but not like really corporate. Like these were grassroots organizations I used to work with and some franchises and stuff like that and some HR, but I saw that as an opportunity to get people like good work, meaningful work, to support their families. But then when you think about like, I went from the nonprofit sector and now I do like community engagement and strategic partnerships for a really big organization. And I don't think I could work in any other department, right? I couldn't work in a department that didn't have a heart. And it's really hard when you're like transactionally, this is what I can do. This is my budget. This is what I have available. and these are the needs, and I have to prioritize needs, which eventually will trickle down to somebody not getting what they need. I hate that. And also the other thing that is interesting about why I would say absolutely not to any political position, I will tell you that right now. I've had people ask me if I would run, all that kind of stuff. And I think the reason you see the culture bearers and the community builders and the culture creators and the culture holders not doing politics is because there's a certain amount of yourself that you have to leave when the bureaucracy hits. There's a certain amount of yourself that can't exist there. And I have more influence and power actually as a civically engaged citizen than I will ever have holding an office. And I don't want to lose that. I want to be a part of strategy. I want to be a part of policy curation and be someone that's trusted in the community to tell the truth and to be honest about it. But I also have no desire to be doing anything political at this juncture in our society. It's a place of like deep mourning for me. Like it is so sad to me where we are as a culture, as a nation.
Me too.
Politically.
And some of what you said even applies to me, like being a professor at Ohio State. I'm cool being a professor and not being in administration, because it's some of that, what you talked about, how people are not able to bring their whole selves to those positions. Is applicable.
I don't think I can do it if I and I mean, there's tact and there's strategy, as my grandmother and great grandmother would say. There's couth, you know what I'm saying? And so I think there's, definitely, I think everything between people is some sort of politicking, right? Like, there's some sort of, and I talk about it like right relationship, but I mean, a lot of people on the streets will say politicking, because at the end of the day, like, you have to know who to talk to about what. If you want to get these things or these needs met, at the end of the day, we're all trying to get our needs met. Hopefully we're able to thrive, but for the most part, we're trying to get our basic needs met. And so everybody's going to have different ways of going about that. And certain people, it's like in certain neighborhoods, you talk to this person if you want to get this done or whatever. And so there's like the street mayors, of those neighborhoods, and there's like the power people in those neighborhoods. And so I think, there's different levels to it. And I like my role that I'm in now in the community. I love Columbus. I'm not, from Columbus. I'm from Cincinnati, but like, I got a lot of love here. I'm from the natty, man. And Erin, it was funny because Erin was like, she thought I was all like love and light, because I came into professionally like, how can I help you? I was old girl off of Coming to America, jumping on one leg, like whatever you like, And she was just like, is this just love and light? And then something happened, and I said probably something about like in Cincinnati, we put razor blades under our tongue, you know what I'm saying? Like, she just, like, you really, like, I'm from down the way, you know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
So yeah. Find out about me, right? But it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't want to lose that. And I just got late in life autism diagnosis. And I know that makes me really susceptible to being taken advantage of. And that's something like I'm working through right now. And the political, there's so many people in there that would just be ready to just take all my goodness. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and just
I do.
Turn it around for not good. And I'm just not interested in any of that at this point. 40 hits, you'd be like, nah.
I hear you. Nah. I feel you. Yep.
That's a good question. I love that you asked that.
I'm glad I did, because I like how you came at it too.
Well, and now, anybody who's wondering, they'll have an answer. I'll just be like, clip that right there. Absolutely not. All right. Well, anything for the people? Any last parting words of wisdom for the people? I mean, you're going to talk to people. You got shows, they're going to hear from you. But like anything for the people before we head out of here.
Stay encouraged, because I try to stay encouraged, because sometimes when you think about all of the the crap that's being thrown at humanity, that people just don't care, because if you don't fit into their agenda, we got to stay encouraged. We got to encourage each other. We got to support each other. And just try to love yourself.
Yes.
You're worth it.
That's a word. And a song,
and nobody told you today.
You're special.
I love her. I love me some Lizzo.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one of my dreams is to get Lizzo for the Columbus Women&Girls'Fest.
Let's go.
That's a dream.
Let's go. I had my nerdy moment. We had Amanda Seals here virtually, and I was just nerding out. I was in the building. I was like,
I know.
Y'all said my name to Amanda Seals.
We've had, I know. Oh, Amanda broke it off.
She turned it out.
Yeah, she turned
it
out.
Intellectually, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. We got to get her here again.
Yes, please. Yes. But that's a good word. That's a good word for us.
Yeah.
And we got to do it together. So we're going to see you in Cleveland. We're going to see you at the One Woman Show. Get the book, look her up. Elaine Richardson, PhD, a different one that she had before. And we love her. And when you see in the streets, you say, hey, mother, I love you.
That's
all right.
Our mother, all right, y'all. Auntie, all of that.
Take care.
All right. Love you.